Welcome to Eye on the Illini. This is Mike Kegley. We are here with Marcus Griffin. We're also here with Kedrick Prince. We will be doing a little bit of a format thing. We'll have Sturdy come in. We'll also have Matt Stevens come in. Gentlemen, Illinois looked like we were playing, the Illini would be playing Duke. And everybody was certain that the Illini would be playing Duke. And then Duke took a Duke right there on the right court. One of the Boozer brothers, all he had to do was hold on to the ball. Didn't do it. And now we have an Illinois UConn game, 5:09 on Saturday on True TV, on TBS, on HBO Max. The Final Four. This is an opportunity for the Illini to get some revenge for that Elite Eight loss a couple of years ago. Maybe this is the beginning of a regional or national rivalry. Ked, what are your thoughts about matching up against our friends at UConn?
I'm kind of excited about it. I mean, we were talking before the air who we prefer to play. Me personally, I mean, I'm kind of curious to hear what everyone else is thinking. I didn't want to play Duke, and my reasons for Duke is going to make me sound like a little soft guy, but I'm not. It really saddens
You're a
me.
big soft guy?
Well, it just saddens me that this happened, and at the end of the day, I get it. I understand, because I just don't want to play Duke because I think, honestly, they get the benefit out of a lot of calls. They really do, and I don't want to have anything to do with that. I think it's, call it immature, childish, whatever you want. I'm just not into playing them. I want Illinois to have a good shot, even though I think Hurley cries and whines a lot. I just want to make sure that Illinois has a fair chance. And Illinois played Duke in the past, and it's never worked out well for them.
Marcus? You're muted, Marcus.
I'm sorry. Who you telling? I lost to him twice. So I know about the favorable whistle that Duke gets, but I'm opposite. I really wanted to play Duke. I just felt like the matchups was going to be a little bit more familiar, a little bit more similar to each other, because they got a big guy that likes to do a lot of point forward as well, same as we do. They got some shooters, same as we do. I just think that matchup was going to be more interesting. Like I was saying before, I went back and looked at their other game earlier this year. I think it was 84-70, and just looking at that, Illinois is a 100% different team. Because I think at the beginning of the season, I think we thought that Big Dave was going to be more of the leader, because he was probably going to be Big Ten freshman of the year, and Keegan was playing a step back, so he hasn't made that jump yet that he has made now, and so it's a totally different team. But UConn is a totally different team from that game. It's going to be, if one message can say, you play big, you live in the paint, because if this game ain't going to be nothing, it is going to be physical. I hope the referees don't call 35,000 calls. I want the players to decide who wins this game. It's going to be physical. It's going to be grabbing. It's going to be all of that stuff. And it is the best, because I want the players to determine who goes to the national championship game.
Brad, what are your thoughts on UConn or Duke, and why do you what do you find curious about this matchup?
I don't know. So I'm still recovering from falling down the stairs a moment ago. So yeah. So
never a dull moment in the Sturdy household.
No, it's crazy. I'm falling down. I was like, what the heck just happened? It did hurt. I'm gonna have to get some work done now. But no, I actually, the one thing, Duke plays a little bit more spaced. You know what I mean? I mean, they play, and UConn runs a lot of sets, but Duke plays a little more space, and we know that Illinois really struggled with teams that spaced. So I was a little concerned about that matchup. Duke gets every call. I think Hurley's a better coach on the sideline than Shire. So if it's a close game, that gives him an advantage. But the other thing is, Illinois seen UConn. And even if it's different, I mean, Terrace Reed didn't play much and didn't play well when they played, and Braylon Mullins was just coming back from his injury and wasn't playing as much. But Keaton Wagler played 14 minutes and rarely had the ball in that game. David Mirkovic played 18 minutes. They weren't ready. I talked to Brad actually after, I think it was it after Greenville? It's one of these games. There's been so many after, and he told me, he said, go back and look at that game and the usage. It was totally different. And that's, they started changing a little bit after that, and then they became the number one offense in Ken Palm history. So that this is so I think this is a totally different game. I'm kind of surprised when you look at it and you say, you look at it and say Illinois is favored by 2.5 points. That's wild. That's totally wild to me that Illinois is favored after seeing what UConn did to him. But it shows the way that UConn has had some, their strength of schedule isn't on the same level. They've played some good teams, but at the same time, they've lost some bad games. They've got some bad losses. Illinois doesn't really have any of those. So, I mean, we might think they're bad, but, they don't have any true ones. So, bad losses. So, this is going to be interesting.
Yeah, I'm looking at it, and I think the most intriguing thing is Keaton Wagler was just some kid at that time. But now, all of a sudden, he's the a second-team All-American who can put up 25 points and help save his team in the second half. I think it's a fascinating, to see how this is different. And I look at the schedule this year. I'm not certain how you guys feel about it, but UConn and Michigan were the only teams that, in my opinion, it seemed like they really they got the best of the Illini. Whereas most of the other games, you could go back and say, well, if Illinois would have done this, they might have won the whole thing, And I thought these two games were tougher for Illinois, and certainly Illinois should have an awful lot of reasons to want to beat this team. I don't know how you feel about that, Ked, but I'm thinking that Illinois should be excited about getting a chance to even the tables.
I think so, Mike. And here's what I really, really like about it: the fact that they played them before, and I like him, Andrei Stojakovic's sorry, bad English. His comment: they don't care who they play; they just want to get out and they want to go play someone. They want to get out and prove that they are a different team. A lot of times you hear players speak. These kids are really, really motivated, and they want to get out and they want to prove that they're one of the best teams in the country. Because right now, everybody's going to be talking about Michigan and Arizona. That's all you're going to hear. And the other game, quote unquote, other game is UConn and Illinois. But I like Illinois' attitude. I cannot believe, and I'm just really curious, we get a chance to dive into it, the changes that Illinois has made in this tournament defensively, to me, gives me a lot of hope that they have a chance to go out and that they can compete and have a legitimate shot at beating UConn. I'm not just saying it. I always talk about the odds fellows because they're out and, Illinois is favorite. Maybe people are starting to give them some credit. But how cool would it be, fellas, if Illinois could play Michigan again in the championship game like it did in 1989? Well, it was a Final Four. It wasn't a championship game, but that'd be great. But real quick, here's what I talk about the defense. Illinois held Iowa to 23% shooting in the second half. The last 8 minutes of the game, fellas, Iowa had one field goal. One field goal. The rest of those points came from free throws. So they've done a tremendous job defensively. Everybody's talking about it nationally. It gives them a chance, something that we haven't seen. I mean, Kim Crocker and Brad Underwood, I don't know if they had a meeting for, they stayed away for 36 hours straight, but they figured it out. And Stojakovic just looks like a totally different player. They wanted him to guard when he got there. Now he's doing it.
Marcus?
I mute myself after every. So this it just intrigues me. It's going to be a battle. It's going to be a battle-tested war. Like Illinois has to win the glass. Like they lost the glass the first time just by a couple of rebounds. It's totally going to be David, Tim, both of the brothers. They got to come in with a certain type of attitude that we're dominating the paint this game. And then guys got to hit timely threes, but I don't want us – I hope they found something with the percentage of threes that they've been shooting in these last couple of games. I don't want them getting back to being desperate and feeling like they need to get back to shooting 27, 28, 30 threes a game. I don't want them to fall back to that. Stay into that 15 to 20 range. Continue to attack the paint, either off the dribble or throwing the ball into the post. It's going to be a physical game. So already have your mindset set that you're not going to get calls. It's just not going to happen. And if they do start calling it heavy on one side, be mentally ready, prepare for that, because Coach Hurley, he complains a lot. And so he might start getting a favorable whistle. Be mentally ready for that, so you can not do what we did when we lost it to Arizona, because we didn't adjust to that quick enough. So you can give yourselves the opportunity to win that game.
Real quick, I think that's a good point. And one of the things I was talking to an Iowa media member about is he's like, well, Iowa's not getting the calls. And I said, well, Brad Underwood's went to, what should be 7 straight NCAA tournaments. Ben McCollum just showed up. He, and Brad Underwood had 2 horrific years of having to fight through, a bad roster and bad calls and bad everything. It takes a while to earn that respect. Yeah. Brad, can you talk about how Brad Underwood, who never makes adjustments at halftime, could you help some of the people understand what the Illini did differently that really changed the game in the second half?
Well, so I was really putting a lot of pressure on them with the ball, picking them up earlier towards the timeline. So what Illinois did was kind of actually extended their ball screen offense. Instead of running it closer to the 3-point line, they ran it closer to half court, which then gave them more space. So even if it was a short roll or a flip or a pick and pop, it allowed them to have more space, and they couldn't get it. That takes away some of the gaps that Iowa was able to do, just for example. Also gave Wagler more room to get downhill and more space to work in. So there were just little tweaks like that. And also you saw them change up who was in like dunker spots and things like that. So now you had, because you realize once you break that top pressure, then the bottom guy has to make a decision then. Do I come up? Do I stay down? Do I stay with the ball? What do I do? And so then when he goes down, if he attacks the rim, and you saw Keaton, and that's what I love about Keaton and Merck, they have the second half. First half, Illinois had 1 assist against Iowa. Second half, they start to move the ball a little bit, and they're making those dump downs, and they're forcing that defender to make a decision. Because, and I'm sure Griff's been in that. I'm sure he's been in that situation 1,000 times. Those guards flying down at you, and you're like, okay, do I stop the ball? Do I stay on my 6'10" guy behind me? You're in a no-win situation, right? And so it's really hard. And they got Iowa in a lot of those situations. Iowa's not big either, so the dump off came. They filled through the dunker spot. They were able to do a lot of things and get them in space. So it was really good adjustment. And then you saw them just say, hey, if I was not going to double the post down the stretch, we're just going to go and we're going to throw it into Tommy and let him go. When they were, and I get it, sometimes they double, sometimes you don't have a great matchup down there. But there was one time Tommy had Cooper Koch on him, which is a huge advantage. And there was another time even with the Figueres kid who he played 9 minutes.
He didn't guard anybody for that 9 minutes.
No, but he doesn't not guard anybody. I think that was interesting. Like, he doesn't guard people. So, so I think that's why he wasn't in the game. McCollum really just kind of lost some faith in him. He'd been a key player for them. He played 9 minutes. So, but yeah, so I think that, that's the adjustment they made, and it was obviously effective. By the way, Fulgaris, just going back to that, he had scored 14, 14, and 16 points in the 3 NCAA tournament games, played 20, 17, and 29 minutes. He played 9 and scored 0 with 2 turnovers against Illinois. So obviously they did a pretty good job. They have, you look at what they've done. That's a kid from Europe again. You realize what Illinois has done to all the other Europeans when they played him in this tournament? I mean, it's like a personal thing. They're going to take. Who does UConn have from Europe? They have European guys, because Caravan's not that guy, right? So I don't know.
I don't think it is.
30, I got to answer your question real quick. You said when I was at Illinois with Coach Self, his number one rule: big guys never help up the floor. We never help up the floor.
I totally agree.
If the guards are coming downhill, you stun at them. You want them to pick up the ball. You want them to make a decision. But you never leave your man for somebody from a guard coming downhill. Absolutely. Rule number one for big guys. You make that guard commit. You stunt. You get your hands up, and then you hope that your guys are going to collapse. But if you leave your man, there's a big body free, to do whatever's behind you. You never leave him.
He's going to dunk on your head before you get back to him. You know what I mean?
That's an
nobody
easy
wants that
every time.
But you think about those lobs. That's where it's effective. Now they've done it with him running, cutting too. But they're able to get him that ball in the lob, because if those big guys do step up, they become so. And I know it's a principle, but they get so consumed with stopping Wagler or Stojakovic that they lose track of that guy behind him. That guy in the dunker spot. It's happened a bunch of times. And that's just not staying disciplined, not staying your principle.
Yep.
So it's going to be very.
You make guards dunk on you all the time. As a big guy, you got to make the guards dunk on you, because if you get too close and then you let that ball go, then I'm trying to block the ball. But other than that, you got to dunk it. You got to come down that lane. They got to challenge you at the rim, but you can't help up the floor because you're going to get dunked on by the big guy.
Yep.
Mike, you made a comment. I'm just really curious to know. The Iowa media guy thought they weren't getting favorable calls. I could have swore I saw Bennett Sturz push off a couple times. They shoved Illinois in the back to get a foul. I was really impressed. And you guys know I'm the whiniest guy in the world when it comes to officiating. Up until yesterday, I was impressed with it. I was impressed. I mean, they were awful yesterday in the second half. I'm thinking, and then the one on Kylan Boswell underneath the basket. I know you guys all freaked out on that. I'm like, and then, Brad, you guys were at the game, but Van Gundy made the comment. He didn't care because he's an NBA guy. His thing was, you haven't called this the whole game. Don't start calling it now because it's a disadvantage, And so I thought, man, I got mad. I threw my hat a couple of times. I'm thinking, man, I've been bragging about the officiating, and now all of a sudden this is going to happen. So I agree with you. I want to see them play. Illinois they're much more physical than what I thought. I like to see them play this way. It's to their advantage. They're able to guard and be who they are. I don't want to see what we've seen against Iowa what we saw against Iowa yesterday.
Well, the interesting thing, and Marcus, I'd like your input on this, but Brad and I talked about this. Illinois seemed to be very respectful of this Iowa team. They seem to think, the Iowa team that they played in January wasn't half as good as the Iowa team that they're watching on video. But yet they still came out. I don't think they were sleepwalking. Maybe it was just Ben McCallum had a good plan, to attack the Illini, and his team executed it well, and it took the Illini a little bit of time to adjust. What did you think about that 12-2 deficit and the potential cause of it?
They just came out a little flat. I take it that you got a bunch of young kids playing. You got some guys that have never played at this level, and they out there for the first time. Elite Eight, big stage. Sometimes you got to get hit in the mouth first before you could take that deep breath, and then you like, oh, it's just a basketball game, and then you start to play, and then you got to get the sweat going and everything. That's all it was. It was just big lights. We're playing a foe that we're comfortable with. Maybe they was probably too comfortable. Maybe it wasn't an edge to them because of the defense wasn't like that at the beginning, but it was still tough. But I like it when they just put their throat or their hands around their throat and suffocate them. But it was just early moments. They was able to settle in real soon after the first 5 or 6 minutes, and then it was a different game after that.
I tell you what, Mike, you asked back. I don't want to spill it. I've watched that game twice, and I'm going to say this is my opinion from a coaching standpoint. I thought what Ben McCollum did to Illinois, I've never seen anybody do to Illinois before, ever. I've never seen. When you go back and you look at, they went kind of like to a shell defense every time because if you look at the guy who was non-existent was Merkovic, they took him out. They played a man. And every time David even thought about going to the block or Tommy got away because there was just bad defense. I think they wore down in the second half. But every time David Merkovic went to the basket, David, there was a guy behind him and there was a guy in front of him. When he kicked it right back out, they went right back to man. They neutralized him. Ben is a really good coach. Personally, I hope he leaves because if that guy gets talent, his kids defend. They defended Illinois really, really well. Like I said, Illinois defending, they took Illinois out of a lot of things that they wanted to do in that first half. And Griff, you're right. Keaton Wagler mentioned exactly what you said. you play the 30 games, but every game you start, and the bigger the lights get, you get nervous at first after a while. But once you get out and run down the court a few times, those jitters go away. He mentioned that. And if you think about it, he's turned the ball over 2 of the last 3 games early right away.
Brad, what were your thoughts on that start?
I'm getting a little sweaty.
Well, if you're talking about the slow start, I think there were a couple of things they talked about. Sturtz also hit some really, really tough shots.
Yeah.
And I don't think that Illinois was ready for the pressure from Iowa, because that isn't really how Iowa plays defense either. So they came out with more extended pressure than they normally do and really getting into Illinois and trying to, there was like no room for them to even to do anything. Like, I mean, it wasn't, and not many teams have done that to them. Houston didn't even put that much pressure on them. And they allowed them to be really physical. I actually asked Merkovich, and he said, Houston's a more physical team than Iowa, but Iowa was a lot. This was kind of a Merk semi. I think he was trying to say something without, he's Merkovich, so you just don't know exactly. But he said, but Iowa was louder than Houston was because of the slaps and the grabs and things like that. He talked about how his jersey was getting pulled and all this stuff. So it was funny. I think they were allowed to do that, and only had to adjust to that. And they got down early, and I like that they kept their composure doing that. But I think sometimes you talk about that. You're not quite ready for it. Here you are in the big stage, and it just, you come out and things don't quite go the way you want. And then the next thing you know, you're down 12-2. But what I like is they came back, and they made it. Then at halftime, they're down 4, and they hadn't shot well. And they, hadn't really, had missed a bunch of easy ones at the rim, missed some wide open threes. And you're thinking, and Iowa's made, in fact, Stojakovic told me that he blocked one of Sturtz's shots that went in. He said, I tipped it. It still didn't hit it. It still didn't hit the rim. And speaking of Sturtz, he's a really good player, man. Really good player. So good at changing directions. Great with the ball. Great passer. Can shoot it.
Changing pace, too.
Oh,
he's
my
a
gosh.
tough guard. He's a tough guard.
He is real. And it's
control.
they were all talking about that and how difficult it is. Like Andre talked about it. And I'll tell you, the other thing is, not one guy had, I don't know how to say this. Sometimes you ask about another player, and you can tell they're kind of like, I don't like it, whatever. You can just tell.
Yeah, as a player.
Every one of them respected Sturtz completely. Like, they were like, this is, I mean, they were like, really, this dude's good, right? I mean, he's just good. And you just respect him. He said, Andre said, and I don't know when they started connecting, but he said, I've gotten to know him over the last few weeks, and he's just a really, really good player, just a fantastic person and all this stuff. And I was like, that's pretty impressive. But he's also, that is a difficult player to guard with his quickness in and out of cuts and his high skill level and the fact that he's such a good passer. So that's tough. And when sometimes those guys go on heaters, you just hope it's going to end. And I don't think he could do it for 40 minutes to beat Illinois single-handedly. And it played out that way.
No, he really didn't. And I'll tell you what, Brad, to go to your point, there was one time during the game, Bennett and Andre was standing next to each other. Andre put his arm around him. He was from behind. I don't know what he said, but I think that what Andre did a good job. Bennett would pump fake. He stayed down the entire time. You know how Braden Smith goes up and he gets you in the air. I think Andre, because he guarded Braden Smith at Purdue, and I think he learned his lesson. Andre, I think he only gave up 9 points in the second half to him. He did a really, really good job on him in the second half. He didn't go for the ball fake. He followed the screens. He knew the double screen was coming. Illinois got off. They hedged and they got back. That's why I just thought Stojakovic, offensive and defensively, I don't know how anybody. Granted, Keaton had 25 points, but the best player on that floor yesterday, for me, from an Illinois standpoint, was clearly Stojakovic.
Yeah, I agree with everything that you said about Stojakovic. I told you on Thursday, that I felt like when I was going to give him my championship ball player of the game, because he gave Illinois exactly what they needed. They needed somebody that said, forget shooting threes. We're going to get downhill. We're going to get points in the paint, and we're getting at the rim. And then when he came in off the bench, he was like, I'm in here to play defense, first and foremost. And he kept him in front of him when he was able to get a couple of angles to shoot the ball. It was a high contest at the high point. Solid. It was just solid overall. But I just want the guys to not be satisfied at getting to a Final Four. I want them to be even more hungry because we don't want another 20 years. We're here now. Let's go. Man, we're not done. We're not done. And I want them to have that in their mind. We're not done. It's good to be here, but we're not satisfied with just getting here. We want to change lives, make history.
Well,
I love that.
Speaking of that, the human side of this, I got to be honest with you. I really feel for Caden Boozer. That was a play that was one that in the heat of the moment, I'm sure that 9 times out of 10 he wouldn't do that, but he made a massive mistake that cost them the game. Brad, how do you handle that as a coach? You know, you've been in state championship games and all those things. How do you handle that type of big mistake and try to help a kid to move through that?
It's hard. I think you got to just appreciate the moment and make sure they understand that how good you were all season. It's not about one play. One play doesn't win or lose a game. You try and make them understand that. As a player, having been also in those moments as a player, when you give up the game-winning hit in whatever it is, or you miss the game-winning shot, those things are also like, I mean, you just have it's so hard to overcome. And that's the thing that can stay with you if you don't have the right mindset and don't understand that it's a 40-minute game. And, you know, everybody focused on that last play, which was amazing, right? But how about they were up 19. It's not like that. They could have made any play during the game and not ended up in that situation. So where they could have been up by 2 possessions, then it wouldn't have mattered. So there were a ton of options for them that they didn't make, and that's what you got to make them understand. And you're not trying to blame somebody else. No, it was actually him. It wasn't but you have to. It's a team effort. Everything you do is a team effort. You win and lose as a team, but man, it is hard as a kid like that. I mean, it's gonna stick with him until he gets back on the court again, and that's gonna be a while.
Just like Chris Webber with that timeout, he is going to he's going to hold on to that, and that kid is going to hear that so many times for the rest of his life. Same as Chris Webber with that timeout. He is never going to go away. It is never going to go away. So that man is just going to have to. That young man is going to have to get tough up here. And he's going to have to accept it, live in it, deal with all the emotions that's going to come with it. It's going to make him a better man. It's going to make him a better basketball player. But it's going to be tough.
Worse with social media the way it is now. It's a lot worse because you should see all the memes out there. I saw one a few minutes ago. It's embarrassing, but it's different day and age, and it's good when it happens. And at the end of the day, we can all hindsight. If he would have ball faked once or twice, it wouldn't have happened. But then you're worried about the 10-second call. But you don't want live ball situations. That's what you don't want. Coach Underwood mentioned that at the very start of the tournament. If you're gonna I used to tell my kids, because kids will panic. If you're going to take a 10-second call, take it. Kick the ball in the damn stands. I don't care. Because if you let them, you turn it over, it gets momentum, they score, you get an N1, a foul, all those things go wrong. If you take a 10-second call, hand the ball to the official, set your defense up. So it happens, and it's easy to say that after the fact, but you're right, I feel bad for the kid. I mean, from an Illinois standpoint, I'm glad, like I said, I don't want to play Duke, but he'll be fine. It happens. It'll sting for a couple of weeks, and then once the game starts again, it'll be over.
And he actually couldn't get a 10-second call because they took it out with 10 seconds on the clock.
Oh, that's right.
So he couldn't get a 10-second call. All he had to do was hold the damn ball.
Just hold the ball.
Hold the ball.
That's all he had to do.
Maybe he was nervous.
They tie him up.
Maybe he didn't want to face. He didn't want to play Illinois. Maybe that's what it was.
Maybe he didn't want to shoot free throws.
Yeah. Worst that happens, they tie him up.
You got guys like that too. I mean, you got guys at the end of the game. Some guys want the ball at the end of the game, and some guys want somebody else to have the ball at the end of the game.
Oh, yeah.
So
from an Illinois standpoint, the one guy I would like to have the ball at the end of the game right now, me personally, is Stojakovic. If I had to pick one guy on that roster, the second guy, I don't care about percentages, but probably be Tommy. Then it would probably be a tie between Keaton and Kylan. I just feel comfortable. And like you said, some guys want it. Some guys are just, they want the moment. Like if you think about it, at the end of the game yesterday, when I don't want to play Iowa, I think Audrey was taught to take the free throws from Keaton, so he could get the shot, so he could get the free throws. But anyway, it takes a special person.
I want Humrickhouse to have the ball because he has the lowest turnover rate in the country. You realize that?
Yes.
No one has. He has the lowest turnover rate in the country. He's literally first in the country in turnover rate. That's insane. His turnover rate is 4 I mean,
he gets rid of the ball quick though, guys.
Seconds,
you think about it.
Oh
he
yeah,
shoot and pass it. He don't got nothing to think about. You shoot it or you pass it. You don't got drill.
But no one has had that turnover rate like going back like 15 years or something like that. It's just insane how good he is at not turning the ball over. It seems like it's such a simple thing. What's your job? Don't turn it over.
Yeah, very simple.
Yeah.
Well, have we seen a change in this Illinois team now, Brad? Are we all of a sudden going to have a team that's not going to go 3-point crazy? That may go in. That they may have finally. Maybe they're just afraid of Marcus. Marcus wants them to go inside and then out, not outside and then in. And maybe at some point they just said, "I'm not gonna piss off Marcus any more than we've already done." But is this a new team? Is this a new team?
I think it's whatever they can get. I mean, they're going to take what the defense allows them to do. And once you saw them, they went inside. In the second half, I mean, I'm not saying they didn't shoot or take threes, but in the second half, they attacked the rim, whether it be off the dribble, whether it be off the post up, whatever it was, they got the ball in the paint. And points in the paint they dominated points in the paint in the second half. So I don't know if they're a different team, but maybe they're becoming more diverse in what they do. You can still be a 3-point shooting team, but also you got to be able to get to the rim. And they didn't get many offensive rebounds in the second half because they didn't have to because they made the first shot. So that's a good thing, right? And but I also think the other part about this, I actually went back after they won and I looked. Illinois played in Lucas Oil Stadium, if you recall, in 2021, and they played in the Big Ten tournament. Because the Big Ten tournament was in the Dome, not in the other place. And then the NCAA tournament, guess where it was? In the same Dome. So they literally stayed there forever. They did not shoot the ball well at all in that Dome, except for the championship game. I think they were 9 of 21. But the other games, they were all like 20% or less from three.
But they were 3 for 17 yesterday, so they didn't shoot it well yesterday either. I mean, they're still getting.
That's why they became diverse. That's why. But what I'm saying is, shooting in the Dome can be difficult. That team struggled shooting in the Dome last time they played there. So what I hope they understand that when things they got to do other things. They got to find other ways to score than just taking the rim, just taking threes. And so that's my point. Is like sometimes in the Dome you have to do that. Now obviously that team had Kofi inside, so. You wanted to throw the ball inside more, but also a lot of it was, it just goes to show you that you have to be diverse offensively. You can't just rely on all threes, but I do like when they go inside and then get threes. Those are good ones.
Can I say something, guys?
Go ahead.
It is a pleasure. Like my heart is so warm inside to hear everybody finally coming around. It is a beautiful thing to witness. To hear you gentlemen finally jumping ship and talking about just a couple of changes we needed to see in the offense. That's all I wanted to say. It is just a wonderful thing to hear.
Well, I'm not certain that we were off the thing. I mean, we know Ked loves the shooting of threes, but
I do.
but besides him, Matt, you were there. You obviously were covering the team as well this season. Are you thinking is there is this a team that's willing to take what's given them as opposed to maybe forcing the 97 3-point attempts in a game, or was this last game or two an anomaly in your mind?
I mean, I sat next to you, Mike, during the regional final, and you know what my answer is going to be. Are you firing Tyler Underwood or are you not? Because, I mean, they're going to shoot threes and they're going to do that. They're going to do the analytical stuff if he's the offensive coordinator. I mean, you're not going to see them go to Indianapolis and do something drastically different than what's gotten them there. Yeah. I mean, that's just the reality of the situation.
But the last couple of games, I thought they've been taking what the defense is giving them more than what they've done earlier in the season. I don't know if that's a change. I didn't get a chance to corral Tyler to ask him that, but 17 threes in a game. There are some games that they blow past 17, with the 10-minute mark in the first half.
Yeah, but that's usually because, like what Sturdy said, they're getting offensive rebounds, and then they're literally kicking the offensive rebound out for another three. They didn't miss a whole lot of shots in the second half, so they didn't take a whole lot of threes, right? I mean, it really depends on how many possessions they get, and then how many offensive rebounds they get off of those possessions. I really think of when we talk about the analytical numbers. But if you think they're going to go to Indianapolis with a different game plan, and I just if you look at the analytics of like how much is Jake Davis going to play, because he's not going to shoot a two. If Jake's on the floor, he's going to shoot a three. How much is Ben going to play? Because I mean, unless Ben gets a complete dive to the rim, he's going to shoot a three. So the idea of some of these guys completely becoming different players because you're in the Final Four is not realistic in the way that I'm looking at it.
I agree.
Is anybody concerned? I thought Boswell had a good defensive game. Anybody concerned? Can they get him going a little bit offensively, or with the way the team is scoring right now and with the options they have, is it just something that the team can afford, to kind of let him ease off a little bit? Ked, what are your thoughts?
Here's my thing. I like what he's doing. How do I say this where it sounds good? I think there was times going back to the UCLA game, he shot ill-advised shots that he probably shouldn't have shot. I think sometimes as players, you think you haven't had a shot in a while, so I'm going to get one of those. In this tournament, I've not seen that. On the second half, yesterday he shot a lot and he came in. He made big free throws, but I think it's about winning for him, and because I know he didn't play a lot of minutes. And when the game was over, when he's shooting those free throws, I'm big in the body language. He didn't seem upset. He's a big part of the team. Illinois needs him defensively. 3-point shooting is not his niche right now, and if it goes in, that's a blessing from what you're going to get. I like to see him in open court. I like to see him attacking the basket. I want to see him get other guards in foul trouble. But just seeing him shoot threes, just to be shooting them, and rhythm, I guess, if it's early, but late in game situations, I'm just not a fan of that for him right now. And I'm not saying that he shouldn't, but I can tell you this. You look at the body language of some of the coaches at the times he shot him, I don't think they liked it either. But I think he's really, really accepted what his role is and what he's doing. Yesterday, the shot clock was winding down. He deferred and gave the ball to Keaton. And on the Illini guys, I had a chance to talk to both parents, and I'm going to tell you, Brad mentioned it earlier. We can tell when people are lying. Those two kids are really close. Their families are close. It doesn't matter to Kylan that Keaton's getting all these accolades, because when they had media day and when Matt was there and Brad, we were all there, I believe. Kylan was the first one to really talk about how good a player Keaton is. So he understands how important this is. And this is not about one person. Everybody's buying in. They're all accepting the roles. You have people like Kedrick Prince crying all the time because Andre's not starting. I don't like it, but I understand it. I really understand it. He's effective off the bench. Yesterday was the first time I've seen his father get up and show emotion. Everybody's watching his dad. So, and Andre seems to be happy with it too. So, but to answer your question, Mike, I think Kylan's going to be fine as long as he's out there and he's a big part of the team. He's good in the huddles. I mean, I've heard players mention that multiple times.
Now, Cad, you go to you work at a school where there's a ton of Iowa fans. What are you planning on wearing to school tomorrow? Just curious as to, this has got to be a big week for you.
It's a big week. It's funny because we have custodians that work on weekends, and some of the teachers have already gone in. My desk looks unbelievable from my understanding. So when I walk in tomorrow, there'll be a lot of surprises on my desk. It's really weird, you guys, because two of my administrators, one of them graduated from the University of Illinois in 2005. He was at the championship game as a student. And my other associate principal played basketball for Iowa, Kevin Skillett. So he was on the team. So I have a lot of Iowa fans, and it's different. And I try to put a post on one of my social media accounts to put the fires out because I don't want to upset them. But they were pretty cordial about it. But it's great because where I work, it is literally 80% Hawkeye country, and I understand it. Driving from one bridge to the next, same bridge, excuse me, from one state to the next, it's kind of a unique situation. The rivalry started, I'm not going to bore people with this, with the Deion Thomas and the Bruce Pearl thing, and it kind of died down a little bit because Iowa wasn't really good for a long time. And then when DeMonte Williams and those guys, they started playing in Kofi and Luka Garza and Joe Reed's camp, they kind of brought it back. So, with Ben being there, it should be interesting if they bring it back. I know some of the Iowa fans are upset because they can't stand Illinois still. They still think Illinois cheap when NIL money's available, but it's whatever, man.
So we're going to do quite a few podcasts this week, but let's kind of go around the horn. Matt, you can start, but what's the intriguing question that you have about this Illinois UConn answer that you want, or UConn game that you want answered on the court?
Are they going to give a bleep as much as UConn gives a bleep? And if they match their UConn's physicality and they match UConn's effort, they have a chance. But like at Madison Square Garden, they didn't match UConn's effort and didn't match the UConn's physicality. So I mean the end of the game the end of the story for me every time with this Illini team is, do they give a bleep? Because I think during this entire tournament, everybody has talked about how you've seen a different team. Well, you've seen a different team because they've given a bleep on the defensive side of the floor. And when they do that, they can beat anybody in the country. And when they don't, they can lose to anybody in the country. And you haven't seen them take possessions off, consecutive possessions off on defense. You haven't seen them, kind of half-ass it on the glass. You haven't seen them do those types of things. You've seen them do a lot of the winning type things. Hurley demands it out of his guys, quite honestly, because I think some of them are scared of him. And honestly, they demand it of him. We've heard during this tournament about basically after the Big Ten tournament that Cam Crocker has demanded it of his guys in a very, very similar way. And Bam is going to demand it of his guys, like when he's on the floor. You saw it against Iowa when, I thought Andre did a really, really good job on Bennett, but there were times where Bam was like, no, I got this. This is mine. And at the end of the day, I think if this team gives a bleep as much as UConn gives a bleep in that game, and just kind of matches their effort and intensity and execution and physicality, they can win that basketball game. But those are the things that you're going to notice very, very early on is if they're capable of doing that.
Sturdy, what are you looking for in this game? What question do you want answered?
Well, I think the big thing is, can they defend? They really haven't been hurt in the post. UConn's going to play through the post. They play through Terrace Reed. That's the way they play now. How are they going to defend him? And it'll be very interesting to see what they do in those situations. They kind of got hurt by Malachi Smith last time. So Duke, I thought in the first half, really gave UConn trouble with their length, right? And I think that was a huge issue. So Illinois got that similar kind of length. Hopefully they can use that same length, but then not melt down in the second half. You know what I mean? Because that was something that really affected UConn, their perimeter shots. They contested everything. Now, the other side of it is what I want to see. I want to see what UConn does to match up with this Illinois team. Wagler's going to have some size advantages over some of these guys. Then I see over the guards from UConn. Merkovich on Karaban is really intriguing to me. Seeing him have to guard the other. Now I think they will flip some matchups and do some different things on defense. In fact, I actually would not be shocked if Illinois plays more zone than they've played in the past to prevent that ball from getting into the low post and force it to maybe in the high post. And so I think there's going to be some different matchups that they use and different things they do. But I want to see what UConn does to guard Merkovich. My guess is they're going to come help Karaban because they don't want him to get in foul trouble on Merk. And if they do, then if he makes good decisions, they're going to get wide open shots. You got to knock him down. So it's going to be very interesting.
Ked?
My concern is, truthfully, I think Terrace Reed is just a physical specimen. I look at Illinois' roster. Yes, Merkovic is a big, strong guy. I don't think we match up well with him. I don't want to see a zone a lot. I would do a lot of matchup zone, but once he's in the post, I don't want to see our base get in foul trouble. What I really prefer to see, if we're going to do that, you lose a lot on offense when you play Zonomir versus Tommy. I would much rather have a decoy in the back and on the back of the defensive end with Zonomir, because Terrace is just a big guy, and we don't match up well with him. I really want to see how Illinois does physically. I think they just impose their will on us in New York. And let's face it, a lot of people are going to talk about that. And I'm doing it as we speak, but this is not the same Illinois basketball team. It's just not. We all talked about Keaton Wagler and what he was like. And even if Keaton scores 3 points, he is a much more aggressive player. He'll get players involved. I'm not putting all the shoulder, all the team on Keaton Wagler, even though he's carried the team. There's so many other weapons. And when is the last time you've seen Merkovic have 2 subpar games offensively? I don't know the last time. I told you earlier in the podcast, I thought Iowa did a really good job on him. He's got to impose his will on UConn as well, getting them in foul trouble. You got to get. Me personally, you got to get their top players out. If you could attack the basket, and it's going to be tough because I don't know if they're going to call calls. And I think Griff mentioned it earlier. The way Hurley complains, and sometimes it works to his advantage, and still sometimes it doesn't. Mike, to answer your question, not to ramble, I just think the physical part of it is my concern. Even though Illinois is playing good defense, I just think UConn in that spot is just something we don't have. And if we do, I would love to hear it.
And finally, Marcus, what are you looking to see? What question do you want answered?
Cab, you sent me straight to where I was going. So right now, I'm talking to Dave and I'm talking to the brothers. The only question that I have, do you want it? Because this game is going to come down to how physical you three play. You three play have to be physical. From the jump, you have to match energy. You got to match it. I don't care if you come face to face with some guys, but you have to be prepared to take it there if it needs to go there. And that's a mental mindset. So all we can practice, I am pumping them up, filling them up with so much confidence, so much bravado that when they go out there, they are ready to match that energy. Because if they're not ready to match that energy, we're going to struggle. Just like Matt was saying, you're going to know early in the game. You're going to see it early because we know UConn is going to crash the glass. They're going to be physical. They're going to play down low. And if you're not ready early to take that on, it's going to be a long night. And so I will talk to them. I don't even care about how crash the glass, finish in the paint, and play strong. That's the only questions that I need. And you will be able to, first 10 minutes of the game, that will be answered.
Yeah.
Just like it was when we played Michigan. First 10 minutes when Michigan was in Champaign, you saw that. We did not match that energy. They had like 8 or 9 offensive rebounds that are early in the game. We can't let that happen now.
Yeah, Brad, how dangerous is a 12-2 deficit against UConn?
Well, I would have said a 19-point deficit against Duke would have been pretty dangerous too. So, I think you just can't. I mean, it's not good. You don't want to dig a deficit, but it's so hard in this.
You just hit something, Brad.
Your speaker out.
And we seem to have Brad frozen. Yep, now he's not frozen.
Your speaker out, Brad.
Yeah, your mic is gone now. Now try it.
Yeah, I don't know. Can you hear me now?
There,
No.
You're back. Now you're back.
Back? Okay. No, I think that they do. You can't getting a deficit in the tournament obviously makes it very, very difficult. But we've also seen that they're all human when you get leads. the college basketball has become more like the NBA, and that being down early is not a death sentence like it used to be, because the shot clock is 30 seconds, and all it takes is a couple bad shots, and the next thing you know, you're right back in it, and so forth. And so, this is like Uncle Phil Cows says, Duke and UNC both blew 19-point leads in the same tournament. I mean, if you think about that, it's pretty crazy.
But let me jump on Sturdy.
Go ahead.
What you like giving up, being down, it only benefits if the defense is up to match that. If our defense, if we're not matching that energy at the beginning and we get ourselves down, they can pile it on in a hurry. They can go from 10 to 20, but that intensity gotta be there from the opening jump.
No question.
I've heard they can outscore people 30-0 too.
Hey, don't even mention that.
That's just something I heard.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah,
actually, I really would mention it, to tell you the truth. It's in the different teams, different eras. I'd mention it. Anything you can use, like Griff said, to motivate them. Why the hell not? It's not going to hurt anything by bringing it up.
I mean, you gotta. Can I say this? Do you really think you have to motivate these guys?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Really, I don't think so.
Yes. Yes.
And I don't know. I mean, I think that these dudes are different. I mean, they're all. I mean, I don't know, man. I've seen. I don't feel like you may have to motivate them to guard. To Matt's point, and
exactly.
Point.
Yes.
But they want to win, and now it's making them understand that you have to guard in order to win. You can't outscore teams when you get. And I think so far in the NCAA tournament, they've totally understood that. Like, I don't know that they got that playing the regular season.
I can't understand him. Can you guys get him?
Yeah, we got some. Yeah, we had some sort of short in the wire there. But yeah, I think the gist of what he's saying is, and I got this from talking with the players one-on-one. The team wants to win. It is how consistent are they? How consistent are they in doing the things they need to do to win? So in other words, they do them in the first half of the Houston game. That was the best defense, and then they played darn near the same defense in the second half of the Iowa game. I do think if this Illinois team could put together 4 halves, they could be the national champions. But you've got to have 4 halves of that defense, and you can't shoot 17% from the 3. You're going to need to put all the blocks together. They can beat anybody in the country, but I don't think there's not a lot of room for error, especially when you're playing any one of these 3 teams. I do laugh when people are like, hey, at least they got UConn. They're easy. I'm like, this is a Final Four. There's no easy in the Final Four. I don't know, Matt. How do you feel about that?
Since we flipped to 2026, and I think I'm going to kind of dovetail what Marcus was saying. Since we flipped to 2026, the Houston game in the Sweet 16 is the first game I've seen this Illinois team not make shots and continue to defend. Because when this team doesn't defend, when this team doesn't make consistent shots and isn't consistent scoring, and I'm telling you guys that when's the last time you've seen these Final Four games in a football stadium, in an open air football stadium, just be offensive explosions, right?
Wow.
I don't remember I don't remember the last one. So if you're not making shots, the Houston game was the first time where I was like, this team gives a bleep on the defensive end, no matter whether the ball is going in or not. And I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that they got told all week that Houston was tougher than them and that they were soft and that Houston thought they were soft. And that everybody basically said that they were going to have to win an offensive game because if it was a defensive game, Houston was going to what to them, right? Yep. And so I think that if they come in with that same mentality again against UConn, certainly they can win. But since we flipped to 2026, that's the first time I've seen Illinois not make shots and still give a bleep on the defensive end of the floor. And I'm not saying that they don't want to win. Everybody on that roster wants to win. But I guess I'm echoing a lot of what Underwood has said for years, which is when the ball's not going in, what can you do to help the team to win? Because that actually happened against Houston, and that's why they were still up at half, even though they had what, 24, 26 points, something like. I mean, in a way that they still felt like, okay, we've still got this, even though offensively we're not playing worth a darn. I didn't feel that way in the first half against Iowa. I felt like the ball wasn't going in, and then suddenly like they were. It wasn't like they were mental or they were from an effort wise not trying on defense, but there were mental lapses on defense because their offense wasn't going. And they had to start making shots in order to feel like, okay, now our offense is going. Now we're going to get stops, and that's how runs happen. And I get that. Yep. But the Houston game, there was no runs because they weren't doing anything on offense, but suddenly they still had the lead. Well, why did they still have the lead? It was because Houston wasn't doing anything on offense either, because they were doing that. I think I could see an easily guys a game that's very similar to the Houston game in terms of points and in terms of momentum and in terms of just what we see, because those open air football games that they play in these Final Fours, they don't play them in the 80s, 90s, and 100s. Like, they just don't for whatever reason. And I think that Illinois is going to have to prove that they can win another game in the 60s in order to beat UConn, because I think that's the way this game is going to be headed.
Sturdy, real quick. Everything that Matt said, that's the reason why you got to pep talk. You got to motivate, because it's not every day. Their defense intensity is not like that all the time. This is something that we haven't seen all year. So you got to talk to that dog and every last one of those guys. You got to talk to that dog and Tim. You got to talk to that dog and to those brothers. You got to talk to that dog and David. You got to make them believe this is the defensive effort we need to see. If y'all truly want to cut down those nets, I need to see this every single day, every game for the rest of the season. That's the pep talk I get at.
All right. Here, in my 411 years of coaching, here's what I'll tell you. When you make it bigger than the moment, you make it bigger than the moment.
Yep.
You have to. I'm not saying that if my personal opinion, if you can't get fired up to go play in the Final Four, you're in the wrong. You shouldn't be in the Final Four. I mean, good Lord. How many of us would be like, I'm in, let me play. I'm going to play in the Final Four. We'd all be there. But I get what you're saying too. Like, you got to make sure they understand that we got to come out. It can't be a second half, because honestly, in the second half, they've been amazing lately, right? And so I think that, but I think you can't let it be like bigger than it is. Like, I think sometimes it gets that way, you know, like when you're in a big game, sometimes kids get like it's bigger than it actually is. And we all know it's super important. Got to kind of just. And so I think the motivation is just to execute, to do the things you have to do. But yeah, and if you don't have that dog in the Final Four, I don't know, man. You don't have that dog in you, do you? I mean, Griff, you ever played a game?
Hey,
I see both sides kind of.
I've always had the dog in me, but there's never wrong with that coach turning that knob in your back just a little bit. I'm telling you, it's just something. It just hits you differently. It just hits you differently. Like, you know what you got to do. You know it. It's the semifinals, but it's just, hey, Griff, go kick his butt tonight. and that's the sentiment all week long. Hey, you the best big man in this Final Four. That's the mindset that I'm talking about. That's the pep talk that I'm talking about.
So and here's what I'll say, and I don't know because we're not there. Somebody had that talk with Thomas Law, because since the start of this tournament, he actually jumped 3 inches off the ground. Yeah. He's going to go get rebounds. To me, I always told my kids, you can be a great rebounder, but you have to go get it. The ones that fall in your hand doesn't mean crap to me. Go get a rebound. He is trying to go get rebounds. He's trying to block shots. So whether that talk came from him, maybe it came from his brothers, maybe it came from one of his ministers, from wherever, I don't know. But the fact of the matter is, it motivated him. Because, we all like it. I mean, you saw him show emotion yesterday. And and he's knocked down some big shots in every game that they played. They made 3 3-point field goals yesterday. Keaton had 2 of them, and Tommy had the other one. So to me, I like it, but you don't want to put a lot of pressure on them. But I understand what Brad's saying as well. But we talked about the key of the game and how physical they were. And those are our three bigs. So it makes sense to me. You don't want to be bigger than the moment, but also they need to understand, that we're not going to survive this if you're going to get outplayed and you're going to get slapped in the damn face. That's not going to work. So again, I see both sides of that.
They better have, especially, UConn's the only team to hold Illinois under 1 point per possession.
Yep.
That was the only team all year to hold them under 1 point. Yeah. So yeah, it's wild. That's obviously that shows how good the offense is, but also shows and it was totally different offense. I mean, Petrovic played 18 minutes in that game. We haven't seen him 18 minutes the rest of the season, I don't think.
No. I think the other part that I noticed from talking to the players is the timing of how the Illini coaches have put in the good word to guys is important, because talking to Hum Rickhouse about the encouragement that he gets from the coaching staff when he does, here's a guy who stays after practice and he does shooting, but he also does defensive drills, which, I mean, come on, man. How many people have ever said, Coach, I'm going to stay after practice and work on dropping in coverage?
Slides.
But yeah, exactly. Somebody must be like, oh my God, I think my ears are broken.
Who that somebody is? He's married to her.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
I've had a conversation with Ben where, like, literally Cam Crocker wanted to do a video scouting session with Ben, and Ben looked at him and said, Cam, we don't have to do that. I went home to Adalia and she told me everything like that you're about to tell me. We're good. Like, he's married to the person that tells him how to play defense and what to do, and when he doesn't do it, like, what the hell's going on? She literally
similar to most marriages.
Yeah, I mean, he walks in the door, like, literally.
You go home when you're told what to do.
Right. like she's the boss in that house. Like, Ben has told me, I walk in the door and she goes, like, why are your feet pointed like this when you're like challenging, when you're challenging a shot? Like, when he walks in the door, and that's the conversation that he's having. So, like, if you want to wonder who, like, holds Ben accountable, yeah, he's married to her. Like, that's the deal here.
Yeah, well, and I listened even to Merck, when I asked him, about the defensive, the change to, because one of the things that I saw in that Houston game is when he was hedging picks, forcing the guard to go out to allow the Illini defender to get there. He was busting his butt to get back down to make sure the lob didn't get over. I mean, there was no casual there, and he just said, the coaches have encouraged him, and I think the knowing, when to encourage and when, maybe to do a boot in the butt, and understanding each player is a little different. I think this coaching staff is got a pretty good handle on the personality of the team. Now, if they can, like I said, if you get 40 minutes with this team, the only team that really scares me is Michigan. But, again, they still got to go out and hit shots. And if you're defending aggressively, Illinois is long enough to alter shots and make it uncomfortable for any team. So I think this is going to be a really good Final Four for the Illini. And I think the other thing that I wanted to throw out there real quick, and then we'll wrap this up, but if you would have told me that, first off, last year before the season started, that Illinois was going to have 2 one-and-done freshmen, I would have laughed at you. But they did. And then this year, if you would have told me that minus 2 one-and-done freshmen, Illinois is going to go to a Final Four, I don't think I'd have laughed at you, but I'd at least thought about it and questioned it a little bit. This is a testament, whether you like Brad Underwood or you don't like Brad Underwood, he's put together a roster that is pretty amazing when you consider the fact that they lost, Will and Kasparis to the NBA, Morez to Michigan, and yet somehow you come back with a team that is good enough to go to the Final Four. That's one last thing I'd like you guys to each hit around the horn. Brad, why don't you lead off? Ked, go next. Matt, and then Marcus can close her out on this subject.
What do you, Mike? I have no idea what you're asking.
So what do you think about this ability? What are your thoughts about the ability to reconstruct a roster so totally? I mean, again, you lose arguably 3 of the best freshmen in the country, and you turn around and go to a Final Four.
Well, it's the portal era. I mean, this is what he's done every year, and that's why being a JUCO coach pays off, because you had to do that. And you know, we actually, and you have to get lucky. I mean, Keaton Wagler was a great eval, right? But at the same time, they didn't know he was going to be this good. Like, I mean, we thought he'd be good, not this good, right? And you know, so you have to get some good evaluations, get a little luck. And, you know, what's more impressive to me this year is the way they've handled all the injuries and illness and adversity. I mean, there's a lot of things to manage here, and they've done a great job with that. And they've gone away. I mean, it would have been easy to say, hey, we're just going to play Mihailo Petrovic as our point guard, and we're going to run things through him because that's what we got him for, and we were going to run ball screens with him all year long. But they didn't, and that's the adaptability. We often talk, you know, people are, Underwood's too stubborn, he doesn't change, yada, yada, yada. But at the same time, they've made wholesale changes, and I wrote about that last week, was every year they've made like wholesale changes, even in the Elite 8 year and now the Final 4 year. They've changed the way they do everything. And in the middle of the year, that's adaptability, and I think that's been really impressive. And it shows in the offseason as well.
My thing for me is it's tough as an older guy to see the roster change the way it's changing. I don't like it still, but it's not just Illinois. It's everywhere. I mean, you look at the transfer portal, it's not really even really open. People are just throwing their names out there. It's the day and age. We have to get used to it. I do, and Brad Underwood has mentioned before his junior college days, and that's the mindset. One of the reasons you get that mindset is at junior college, every semester you lose 4 or 5 kids to eligibility because they don't stay eligible. Number one, that happens all the time in junior college. So to some kids. And I like the fact that he's that way, but at the same time, you have to give credit to Zach Hamer, Tyler Underwood, Jeff Alexander, and Orlando Antigua, because they're the ones going out doing the recruiting. You know, Brad Underwood is that closer. You know, when you hit that arm, you know, when you need to bring him in, to finish the deal. Sometimes he's a little bit ahead of the game. He'll go out there and he'll do it. I know tomorrow they're having a big recruit on campus tomorrow, and I can guarantee you it won't be him trying to close. He'll be out front leading that one. But, you know, I'm not going to say who that is. If you want to know who that is, you come to our website or follow one of our Twitter pages to see who that player is. But, Mike, the roster changes, it tells you what Brad has done. And I think there's some luck to go with it. I mean, you guys may feel totally different. Illinois didn't have an easy road, so don't misunderstand me when I say this, because they have to play who's in front of them. Playing Iowa, people think that was a gift. Iowa beat Florida. That was the number 1 seed, and we all saw how well Iowa played yesterday, so it wasn't easy. And I think people forget about Houston, who was a great number 2 seed. So I think they've caught some breaks. I think they defended Houston. I don't think Houston shot the ball really, really well. I think the things that Brad that you need to get to a Final Four, I've mentioned before, I think it's happening to them. I think the roster may look different next year, but I can also tell you this. It won't be young again. Brad has really figured out that you cannot be young like what they were with Will Riley and Cusperas last year. That's not a recipe that you can win, no matter if they're lottery picks or not. You have to stay older, get in the transfer portal. You can win with some young studs, because Keaton Wagler and Merkovic are proving that, but you got to get some older guys to go with it.
Matt?
You're leading into what I wrote about on IlliniGuys.com, which is I felt like if Illinois won on Saturday, Brad was on the same level as Lou. And I understand that Lou and Mary's name are on the floor at State Farm Center, but the only thing that was missing from Brad Underwood was the Final Four. Cross that off, and I think he's on the same level as Lou. If he wins 2 more, he's the GOAT. He's the greatest coach that's ever coached in the modern era at Illinois. Period. End of discussion. And I know that bothers some people because they really think that Brad Underwood's stubborn and Brad Underwood doesn't listen and all this stuff. Well, guess what? If he wins 2 more, he doesn't have to listen. Doesn't have to listen to me. Doesn't have to listen to you. Doesn't have to listen to anybody. Like he's the guy. They're going to do something for Brad Underwood. I don't know if it's a statue or name something or whatever. He's the greatest that's ever done it. And I'll be real. Like the way that he's figured out this roster. I mean, Josh Whitman kind of said it on Saturday night, guys. Like when he was hearing reports, and Josh Whitman's not a basketball guy. He'll fully tell you that. When he's hearing reports in the summer and then like in early October that Keaton Wagler's the best player on the court, like when they go 5-on-5, well, wow, that's different. I wasn't expecting that. And suddenly that becomes, Keaton Wagler is a lottery pick. Like that wasn't supposed to happen. But, I would push back on something that Ked said, which is like this staff thinks that they have to continue to stay old. Like I think this staff the way that this staff thinks now is a little different than the way they thought 2 years ago, which is we have to stay really, really talented. And if that means bringing in 2 freshmen like Keaton Wagler and David Mirkovic and running stuff through them and playing through them, let's do that. And because being older doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get better. You're going to win 6 games in the NCAA tournament.
Just means
I think they figured that out too. And so if we have to play through a freshman like Keaton Wagler, let's do that. If we have to play through a freshman like David Mirkovic, guys, think about how much freshmen handled the basketball this year for Illinois. And we all talked about
2 leading scores. Am I correct? I mean, are there the 2 leading scores on the team?
If Keaton Wagler's not on the ball in a possession, who is? David. It's not Bam right now. It's David. And so what you have to have is a team that's just really, really talented and really, really locked in from an emotional and from a mental and from a physicality standpoint. And I think that's what's led this team to where they are. But the adaptability of Brad Underwood is undoubted. That he can figure out a roster. This is not the same. They're not coaching this team the same way they coached the Terrence Shannon team a couple years ago and the Io and Kofi teams years back. They're not coaching them the same way. And I give them a lot of credit for that. And I've also given them a lot of credit for finding, we talk about the transfer portal all the time. They found a player market that they feel like is a damn good pipeline that they can win basketball games with in the future. And that's that European market right now. They're not sending Jeff to European countries just so he can have a vacation. Like he's bringing back players and he's bringing back players that are contributing at a very, very high level. So I just think that Saturday proved that Brad, let's put it this way. Brad is one of 2 living Illinois coaches who have a Final Four on their resume now. Like at that point, if he wins, guys, if he wins 2 more, and I would even argue if he wins on Saturday, and Illinois playing for a national championship on Monday night, Brad might be the GOAT. Brad might be the greatest of all time. And because you put his 9-year period up against anybody else's in Illinois history, and I did it with Lou, he's better. His results are better in every metric that you wanted to look at it. And so, I give this staff and I give the top of the pyramid, Brad Underwood, a lot of credit for being able to be adaptable in how we're doing this over a decade of how he's running this program.
And Marcus, what do you think about the roster building and how it's kind of all coming together?
The first thing, you just got to give credit to the coaching staff because every year they know that they're going to lose players. They know players. They sit down and they like, how can we compete? What pieces do we need to pull in to be competitive on the basketball court? And every year their team is different. So them assistant coaches, they pound that pavement. They get out there and they search high and dry. I know they got contacts overseas. They got contacts everywhere. Hey, we got some players over here. Jeff is on the plane over there. So they're doing a great job of not staying complacent, trusting what their eyes and what their ears are telling them or what's going on. They see the landscape of college basketball. How can we be different? Because no other team is really kind of playing like Illinois. Like they're leading a lot on freshmen. They're leading a lot of international play. So they're the first ones into that market. And I'm pretty sure with the success that they have had this year, it's going to be some copiers. It's going to be some people that's going to jump into that market and try to take that. But Illinois already got their foothold in there. So it's just the adaptability, things that all you guys have said. Coach Underwood has opened up his mind. He's willing to try new things. If it don't work on the fly, his willing, because I'm pretty sure bringing Petrovic in, they had the thought of how they was going to do it. Let him do a bunch of ball screens, and quick into the season, there's like, nope, that's not going to work. We're going to put the ball in somebody else's hands. And so by having that mindset, having the assistant coaches that have that Brad trust, that could go out there and find the talent that he's looking for, you can't beat it. You can't beat it. And right now, he's a Final Four coach. But I don't know if I can say he will be the greatest coach ever with a couple of wins. How long did Lou do it?
Lou never won a national title, but I think Lou never won it all. No one has. Bruce Weber got to a national championship game.
How long did he do it? How long did he coach at Illinois?
Marcus is making the point that Deion Thomas made to me, which is the longevity argument.
Yes.
The longevity argument is why Lou and Mary's name is on the floor at State Farm Center. That is undeniable, but that is a race, Marcus, I believe, that Brad Underwood can't win, because I don't think anybody in this modern era is going to do it for 20 years anymore.
You don't think he will do 10 more years? You don't think
he's 62 years old, and I don't know. I don't see him doing it. He's getting older.
Yeah,
these guys
it is
like
different. Yeah, they're making a lot more money now. But but I don't think he needs to do 10 more. Say he did 5 more years at the same level of success. What in 5 more years? He did not get to another championship game, but say he got to 2 more Sweet 16s, 3 more Elite Eights. He won another Big Ten championship, and then he won another Big Ten tournament championship. I will then think that he has done enough to be put into that conversation.
The interesting part of this, Marcus, that Lou was like the comparison of Lou and Brad is very, very interesting, because Lou's best teams, were roster construction that nobody else in the country was doing. Who else was playing 5 guys between 6'5" and 6'8"?
That's it.
Nobody.
Just Lou.
I gotta give Mike DeCourcy at the Sporting News a lot of credit, because when I talked to him about this, he said Lou was putting together rosters from a construction standpoint that nobody else in the country was doing. And I would make the argument that right now, Brad Underwood is constructing rosters right now nobody else in the country is doing. Facts. So from a comparison standpoint, when you look at Lou and when he had success in the 80s and what Brad's doing now, it's very, very similar, because they basically –
it really is.
You guys over here are going to do this. I'm going to do this over here, because that's the way we have to win. And I think that Lou and Jimmy Collins basically decided this is how we're going to do this in the 80s, because everybody else is playing like this. And we have to win like this. And so I think it's really, really eerily similar that the guy that had the most success over time, like Marcus is saying, Lou Henson, is Brad Underwood's doing it the exact same way and saying, I'm not going to roster construct, and I'm not going to pay guys, and I'm not going to have the same kind of rosters as UConn and Duke and Michigan State and all of those top teams, and Kansas and all of them. We can't win that way. We have to be different. Not only do we have to be talented, but we have to be different. And I give, like Marcus was saying, I give this staff a whole lot of credit for saying, we have to be different, because that's how we're going to win. And they also have a boss in Josh Whitman that's going to approve and applaud that, because he looks for people like that are going to be different from everybody else in the country when he goes and makes hires. When he goes and hires a Brett Bielema, when he goes and hires a Shauna Green, and 9 years ago when he hired Brad Underwood, he wanted somebody different. And so I think that the way that Lou and Brad have constructed this at their highest peak is eerily similar.
I'm with you.
Well, I'll tell you this, but Mike, before you get off, I know a lot of us older guys, we remember Lou. Lou did the same thing Brad did. Lou took over a program that was just horrible. It was bad. Brad did the same thing. And I think living in the moment, I think it's tough because it's a different era. Lou had that. I think Lou had an advantage because Illinois hadn't been to a Final Four, and he was the first guy to get it done. And to me, when you look at like Brad Underwood, because I think he's passed Matt Painter again, the last 6-7 years, he's the winningest coach in the Big Ten. So it's hard to fathom, and I understand it. But he was already in an Elite Eight. People are already criticizing him. If he don't get to the Sweet 16 this year, well, he should be on the hot seat. Well, he surpassed that. And I'm not saying one coach is going to be better than the other, but I'm telling you this: getting to a Final Four, I know Lou Henson did it, Bruce Weber did it, and Brad Underwood. The other guys, I don't even think I was even, hell, my parents probably weren't even born. So, and they're 80 years old. So my point is, I kind of agree with Matt, but I love Lou. I mean, that's my guy. When he was still living, and rest his soul. But Brad deserves some credit because he revamped his roster every year. And to be honest with you, he put his original question. He had 2 lottery picks, and then the very next year, we're living with 2 freshmen that are leading us in scoring, and they're in the Final Four. Dude deserves some credit. I'm sorry, I'm not saying they're going to put write his name underneath the scoreboard or on the backboard or something, but Brad's done pretty good for Illinois. Whether fans like it because he's stubborn, like what he's doing or don't, and what he's not doing, Lou was stubborn too. Tell you what, get Kendall Gill on, get Steve Barter on, get Kenny Battle on. They'll tell you the same thing. He was stubborn. Brad's just different about it because he really doesn't give a shit what people think.
Yeah, this is a good debate. We will continue. We're going to have quite a few shows, so be paying attention to Twitter, your social media. You can follow us on there, IlliniGuys. You can follow there, or you can at Mike Kegley, at KedPrince4, at Matthew C. Stevens, at Sturdy32, at Big Griff 52. You can follow us. We'll put the announcements out there for when we're going to do it, but we're going to try to get a bunch of stuff here. I've got Brad's got some coaches, both near and current and in the past, that he's working on. I've got a couple of Illini legends that we're going to bring on. Of course, we bring you Marcus Griffin as often as we can. So you're going to get a lot of stuff this week. Should be a lot of fun. And we'd ask you to stick around. Of course, if you want to go ahead and get on to IlliniGuys.com as a member, you can go there and hit the registration and join. 27 cents a day. And it really helps us because the Big Ten is so much bigger. The airfares, as we cover football and basketball, and we try to go to different AAU events to get players, it is more expensive, and it helps us defray costs. So that would be cool. If you want to be a member, you get the game room, and you get the you also get the message boards where you can talk to Brad, Ked, Matt. Marcus has an account on there, although I don't think he's used it recently. We are all on there, and you can actually talk. So it's not just a one-way type of street. So we will be back in the next few days. It will be exciting. It will be interesting. Until then, folks, go Illini.